Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
All right, something brand new that just came out.
Yeah.
Yet another game from Wizards of the Coast that has to do with Dungeons and Dragons. We have many of them that have come out at this point in time.
Still beating that drum.
But, well, I'm going to just tell you what this is. This is Dungeon Command, and basically they've taken their old Dungeons & Dragons miniatures game and mixed it with Magic: The Gathering. Taking two big properties, put them together, and you have a game. Now, is that good or bad? We'll tell you. Right now, there's two packs you can buy, the Sting of Lolth and the Heart of Cormyr. You can actually buy one of these packs and play half of it, the pack, against somebody else. But the game is meant for you to get just one of these packs. And when you get the pack, you'll open it up and there's a tray inside where you can put all the monsters and cards. It's an okay, the box quality is really not that good though. It's an okay box. But we're more interested in seeing what comes inside the box. Well, you're going to be obviously attracted by the miniatures. You can see here, these are the good guys, basically. A bunch of knights, dwarves, elves, and a dragon, I guess, who fights for good, a copper dragon. And then over here we have the bad guys, which are a bunch of drow and spiders. Now, the figurines here aren't exactly completely new. Like, for example, this is a drow that came with the game. And this is one from HeroScape that I have. And oh, lo and behold, it's essentially the same model with some minor paint changes. But still, they're pretty good models to have. And one of the coolest aspects of this game here is the fact that you don't have to use it in the game itself. The game comes with a whole pile of cards that you can use in Wrath of Ashardlan, Castle Ravenloft, and Legends of Drizzt. There's adventure cards that you can throw in. And for each of these creatures here, you either have a monster card that you can throw in the deck, or some of the good guys, there are ally cards where you can use them when something happens in the game. You can stick one of these guys in as an ally to help the good guys out. And so these are not for this game itself. You put these in the Castle Ravenloft series, and that means you can use all these models. And if they do that for each of these expansion packs that they come out with, then the game is infinitely expandable. Now here I have the tiles from both sets put together, and this forms the game board. But the game board is very modular. You could take any part out and switch it, and it will fit anywhere else. So you can see that if I move this over here and this one here, it's not going to change things much. And then on the other side, there's an outdoor section, so you can put those together. But this is your basic dungeon that you'll play with it in a two-player game. And in this place, there's a start spot in the opposite corners for the different monsters, even though I guess I have them starting here on the same side. So let's fix that. There we go. We can start in the opposite corners and see again how modular it is. It's very simple to do. But the board has different terrain markers. There's spots where you're going to put treasure chests on. You can see those little triangle spots there. That's rough terrain, cost 2 to move into. There's magical runes that will come in handy with certain cards. But for the most, and there's those big black things, which are walls that you can't move through. But for the most part, it's a pretty simple game. And movement in the game is pretty easy. As you're moving, you can move diagonally. You can move straight. The only thing you can't do is move diagonally around a wall corner. Now, what your players are going to do, when you play these pre-made packs, you're pretty much ready to go. You have your stuff. But let's say you're playing an advanced game. You are going to put your army together. And for that, the first thing you'll need is a commander. And 2 commanders come with each army here. But if you look here, for example, at Rinserra the Alifon, you can see that there's a couple stats. She has 2 different hands. A creature hand, that's how many creatures she'll have in her hand that she can summon into battle. Starting order hand, that's a hand of order cards. And then you'll see morale and leadership. Morale is what you don't want. You want to keep your morale, you'll lose the game. And leadership is basically how many levels worth of monsters you can have on the board. and then there's a special ability that she has, and that's pretty much it. Each of the characters involved will have different special abilities, but they don't swing too wildly. For the most part, they're the same. Now, during the course of this game, we're going to be bringing creatures into battle. You can deploy some of them, but you'll deploy creatures up to your leadership amount. So you have 7, but that leadership goes up every turn. So you're going to be able to get all your creatures on the board if possible. Here's a creature card, Drow Blade Master, and a couple things about the creature card. You can see in the top right-hand corner is the number of hit points it has. Up here you have its level. Level is important for 2 reasons. One, you add all the levels together, and that's how many you can put out on the board according to your leadership. So the higher the level, the fewer monsters you can have on the board. But also, when you kill an opposing creature, then your opponent will lose that many levels in its morale. So if a big creature dies, you're going to take a huge cut in morale. Then it will show here that this guy does 20 damage in melee, and there's a special ability, Flashing Blades. At the very bottom, it shows you his movement is 6, and then it shows you a picture of the model in case you get confused. You'll also notice that there is a dexterity thing there. Not every card has that. Some cards, like for example, this Umber Hawk here has strength and dexterity. The Drow Priestess has dexterity and wisdom. Now, so they have different kinds of cards. So this Drow Priestess with dexterity and wisdom at a level 3, there's going to be cards I'm going to be playing over the course of the game. If I want to play this Feint on her, for example, that's a level 1 dexterity. Well, she's dexterity, so she can use it, and it's level 1, which is less than level 3, so she can use that also. She could use this level 3 dexterity card because she's a level 3. She can use this level 2 wisdom card, but she can't use this level 1 intellect card because she doesn't have intellect written on her card, and she couldn't use a level 4 dexterity card because her level only goes up to 3. And so you're going to see a lot of variation between the different characters. Now, over the course of a game, a player is going to be tapping and untapping their characters. At the beginning of your turn and at the end of your turn, you'll tap and untap your characters. And the reason for that is during your turn, you will tap your character when you make a standard action. Most of the time, a standard action is going to be an attack, but there are also cards that can be considered a standard action. On your opponent's turn, you will tap your cards to take immediate actions, basically to interrupt, to play a card like this one here that says Near Miss, an immediate action to prevent 20 damage to this creature from one source. And then that will tap your creature, although this one here actually untaps your creature, and so you can use another one. But so on your opponent's turn, if they attack, usually when you play a defensive card, you can avoid the attack. And in fact, you can, if you're in cover, you can just tap your card automatically to miss an attack, but the second attack is going to get you, likely. So one of the things that you have to remember is that you untap all your cards at the beginning and at the end of your turn. On your turn, you're going to play cards and move your characters on the board. Then you're going to possibly deploy some more creatures, and then it goes over to the next person. The game takes place in which the creatures, when you activate them, they're going to be running around the board, and they're going to be attacking each other. If they land on one of these treasure chests, it's not really treasure. What we do is we look at on the bottom of that token, there's a 1 through 3, and then we'll put that many treasure tokens on that spot. And then a character can spend a standard action if they're on top of it to remove one of those tokens and add one to their morale. The game, when they're next to someone else, when you attack, you don't roll dice, you simply do your damage to them. If it kills them, they're dead. Otherwise, they stay alive. But the game is really going to be focused on not rolling the dice here, but by playing these different cards. This spider here will do 10 damage, but if I can play this stalk, let them shift to 6 squares, or I don't know if my opponent will have a close call, or I can do a quick jab, which I'll do extra damage, and then hit him again. And so knowing when to play these cards, you're only going to draw 1 order card per turn, so knowing when to play them is critical to winning the game. And that's essentially the game. You're just going to keep fighting. Once your creatures die, it's easy for you to deploy more, but as your morale gets lower and lower, eventually your morale is going to hit 0, in which case you lose. So you will always have 3 creature cards in your hand that you can deploy and add new ones to the board, and you'll have a handful of order cards that you might play one, some, or none during the course of your turn. But it's all about destroying your opponent's creatures. Each of these packs that comes out, there's going to be more. There's 2 more packs for sure planned. I think there's one with undead in it. I can't remember what the 4th one is. And so there, yes, you can play it right out of the box, a mini battle, but you really need 2 of them. You need yours and your opponent needs his.
Yeah.
This game is interesting. Now, I don't know if you have played the old Dungeons and Dragons miniatures game. I know you played Sam played the Star Wars miniatures game,
yes,
which was basically identical.
Just
in that game,
skin on it, yeah.
that game you were moving miniatures around and attacking each other, rolling d20s to hit, adding to attack and comparing to their AC and such. So this is different. It looks the same. The miniatures look the same as the Dungeons and Dragons miniatures have looked in the past. I think, and I'm not a painter, but I think they're pretty good for being pre-painted.
No, yeah, they are.
Especially the bigger models. They're just really nice looking.
Yeah.
I'll get this out of the way at the beginning. I think it's awesome that you can use this stuff in Wrath of the Shardlin and Legend of Drizzt. The fact that you can take these miniatures, it's going to make the other miniatures look poorly because they're not painted. Right. But I think that's really cool, and I would be tempted to get them just for that alone.
Just for that alone.
But we'll put that out of the picture because you shouldn't buy a game because it works with another game. You should buy a game based on its own merits. So this game has no dice. Essentially, it's a very fast game. I would say that once you know what you're doing, I don't know that a game will ever take over an hour. Because you're building troops, you're sending them at your enemy. It's just a straight-up brawl. There's no finesse. Well, there might be finesse in how you move, but it's a maneuverability. Run at your opponent and attack him and kill him. Kill his stuff. And they did a very interesting thing. Well, you can send in giant creatures, but if they get killed, you're going to lose because they take off a big chunk. So, what do you think about the diceless aspect of it?
Well,
because Sam loves dice.
I love dice. I really do. And taking the dice out of a Dungeons and Dragons games just seems wrong on some level. But it works with this game. The cards that make up your order hand or your order deck effectively replace the effects of rolling the dice. Sure, you don't have the tactile element of actual rolling and the sound that it makes and that type of thing, but as far as gameplay is concerned, the cards do a good job of replacing all the different things that can happen with a good roll, with a bad roll, what have you. The tapping aspect also works as well. Some of the cards tap your characters, so if you play a defensive card with that character, it taps him, which leaves him open for another attack if your opponent is able to get there. So I thought that was a pretty cool twist on that as well, that defense actually taps. One of the things that I thought that was kind of strange was that you untap your characters on both ends of your turn. Yeah,
in fact, I was just reading today a review where the guy did not do that, and it was really discouraging him because they could never dodge attacks.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Magic player, you only untap your cards at the beginning of your turn.
Well, I think this is one of the first games that's ever done it on both ends of your turn.
I think so.
I don't remember too many more that have actually done that. That seems to be kind of a standard.
Well, I went back and reread it twice because I thought, wait, did I read it wrong? The second time it said untap your cards at the end of your turn. I said, I thought it untapped them at the beginning of your turn. So, but in practice, it makes sense. I really feel like this game leans more towards Magic the Gathering than it does towards D&D. Because it's all about card play.
Yeah.
And the fact that once enough of these packs are out, you know people are going to custom build their decks, which you can do. They're going to custom build their miniatures. But the miniatures, once you get them out on the table, they're kind of like cards. This game is going to be compared to Summoner Wars and Mage Wars, I think.
Yeah, probably so.
Even though this has miniatures and those other two games do not. But it's going to be compared to both of them. But I think you're going to have to come out of the gate realizing that this is not, I don't think it's that deep of a game.
No, it's not. It's really supposed to be just a skirmish level type thing. This is not really a dungeon crawl. I mean, it's called Dungeon Command. But there really isn't any plot line behind it. It's just, okay, this is in the middle of a dungeon crawl. Maybe this would be cool, like, to have for like your RPG session where you meet, your party meets a big group of monsters, and so you pull this out, and if you want
Maybe
to really
this is the combat system for the new version of Dungeons and Dragons, and they're preparing you for it now.
Oh, no, this is the beta test.
Well, the thing is, it's called Dungeon Commander. You can actually fight outside, and it feels almost identical to fighting in a dungeon. I don't really see. There's not a huge difference there.
No.
I do think that these two factions, I think they're really balanced. The bad guy faction, the Drows, they're fast. They're really fast, and they're very good at dodging. They're very high on dexterity, while the other team is more about defense, slower moving, but they can do much more damage. Mm-hmm. And I mean, who's going to argue about having a knight and a dragon on your team? While here you get a bunch of spiders. Woohoo!
Well, you got a half spider, half.
I've tried it. That's gross. That's gross.
Yeah, it was disgusting, but it's cool as far as the game is concerned.
Yeah, no, the game is neat. I'm really looking. It's going to be hard to give a full review on it, in essence, because I love to see multiple factions. I love to build my own faction. That's just not possible with what we have right now. We're basically stuck with what's in the box. But out of the box, it's not bad. I played it with Sam. I played it with my daughter, and she picked up and understood it easily. And again, I just kept coming back to that card management. I love the way the character cards are. I like that they have a level with dexterity, charisma, strength, wisdom, and so then you can use specific cards on them.
Right.
But I'm curious how this will turn out. I'm betting you that in the future we're going to find banned cards that are too powerful for decks, or something. Well, we'll see. Or an army that you just can't beat. Some guy figures out some army that's unbeatable because of the mechanics of the game. And since there's no luck rolling dice, I would imagine it's possible to exploit it.
Well, that Killing Blow card that was in my deck seems like it's
it's
incredibly powerful, but
you have to have that guy out on the board, and you can only use it once.
It's only usable by 2 people in my army, so we'll see. I mean, I think they've got a good thing going here. I'll put it that way, at least for right now. Do not expect an immersive game. That's not what this is all about. I think it's just a idea of, hey, let's see who wins. That's kind of the extent of it.
I would imagine they're going to come out with pack after pack after pack of these until the game does not as great as they want it to, and then it's going to disappear. But if this was all the game was, I would still be content enough with it. Now, in the future, we will do a 3-way to the mat brawl between this Summoner Wars and Mage Wars, and we'll tell you which one of those is the best. But
that's a good idea.
You'll have to wait for that one. Mage Wars is coming out in August, and we'd like to do a full comparison. Also, I'd like to see the extra stuff for this, and we'll see. But this should be at Gen Con this year, so check it out. Oh, we have to rate it. I'm going to give it 1 Drow Sword Up, because I like it. I think it's good, but I think it's falling shy of greatness right now. I think it's just a fun skirmish game. And I said, I'll play it again. But it wasn't like, I must play this again. It was more like, that was an enjoyable experience.
I'll go ahead and give it 1.5 Dragon's Teeth Up. Simply because...
go higher.
Yeah, well, I liked it better than you did. The idea is simple. The idea is fun. I think it's going to appeal to a wide variety of people, a wide audience. And... just the idea, the gameplay is simple and fun. That's a perfect match.
And I think both of us have kids. I think this is both a game that we could play with our kids, and that they would be able to understand there's not a lot of difficulty, just a few terms, and then play.
Yeah.
So, there you have it.
Alrighty then.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.